Jeff Dye's friendship. Jeff Dye's friendship. Jeff Dye's friendship. Jeff Dye's friendship. Jeff Dye has friends. No, really, Jeff has friends. Jeff's friends are on this podcast. Jeff Dye's friendship. Jeff Dye's friendship. Jeff Dye's friendship. Jeff Dye's friendship.
Friendship.
Hello, Jeff Dye's Friendship Podcast guest listeners and Friendship Podcast friends and Friendship Podcast animals? Do animals listen to this? That would make all my dreams come true if animals listen to this. Hey, it's Jeff Dye, live from his kitchen, bringing you episode 106. 106, I said sex. 106. It is day 900 of quarantine. This is getting out of control. It's getting out of control. The podcast is out of control. The lockdown's out of control. I don't know what to do. So what I do is I keep trying to provide content for you guys to listen to. Quick thing, if you're watching this episode, if you're one of the Patreons that gets to watch this episode, you might notice I have a shiny, gross blemish on the middle of my forehead and in the the little crook of my nose. Here's the story. And if you can't see it, you're lucky because it's kind of ugly and gross and it's distracting. Look at it. It's got Neosporin on it, which is kind of like highlighter for it. Kind of gives it some shimmer. If you want to know what happened, the power went out. And so my whole neighborhood and all the people around me, everything went dark. And my dog was freaking out. So I took him outside because it was just complete blackness. And it was just as dark out there. The street lamps were out, everything was out. And he kept barking in the darkness, like there was something there. And that made me scared. I get scared easy. I was startled. So I'm shining my flashlight on my cell phone, trying to figure out what's in the darkness. And it just keeps getting darker and darker in this like garage area. And so he starts barking. It's making me nervous. And I run and I slam into a concrete thing super, super hard. I had a baseball hat on and a face mask for virus prevention, and it still cracked me open like this. And I landed right on my butt, and it hurt, and I've crinked my neck. So that's why I look ugly. It'll go away. I'm getting Neosporin on it. It'll heal soon. Don't worry about me. I'll be fine. But let's talk about episode 106. That's what you're about to listen to. Episode 106. A really nice guy that I was starting to become real good friends. Not good friends, but we were becoming friends in the comedy scene. Reached out to me and said, hey, do you mind doing via Zoom my podcast? And I said, you know what? That's perfect because I need a podcast guest this week. Let's just pod swap like I did with Randy Valerio and the Ready, Set, Blow guys. So what we did is we did a little pod swap. If you are watching via Patreon, thank you so much. You're going to love my friend Sam GOLDSTIEN. He's a great guy, and he's an up-and-coming comic you should check out. He's a really good guy. We talk about that. We talk about a lot of cool things. It's nice. It's a nice hang. Me and Sam both miss baseball. He doesn't miss alcohol because he's in recovery, but I miss alcohol. He misses bars. I miss bars. But it's just two dudes anxious for this to be over so we can go back to living our regular lives, as I'm sure all of you are. I hope you enjoy episode 106. Like I said, you guys' messages on Patreon have been very uplifting and great. Thank you guys for sharing my content on Instagram. Announcement. I'm doing things with Fox, which means May 6th, mark your calendars, May 6th, I am a guest judge on The Masked Singer. I was there for the whole episode. It was super fun. You guys are going to love it. I had a great time on the episode. Hopefully, fingers crossed, prayers to the Lord, that Fox will say, you know what, you were so great over here, let's do this with you. Let's do that with you. Let's make you on The Masked Singer. Whatever happens. I don't want to sing, but you know what I'm saying, like maybe put me up there more. Long story short, it was very, very fun. I had a really good time, and I've been holding on to that secret for a while. So May 6th, Wednesday, check me out on The Masked Singer. And then immediately after that is a show called After the Mask. that will also be on Fox. We'll kind of be talking about the episode. We'll talk about who got unveiled. The person that's unveiled will also be on the episode. You guys are going to love it. Like I said, Patreon subscribers, thank you for being so loyal. I know that the podcast isn't as great as it normally is when I have producers and stuff, but you guys have been great through it. You've been positive. You've sent me nice messages, and you haven't canceled your subscription. So thank you very much. I love you guys. Without further ado, episode 106, meet my friend Sam Goldstein. What's up, dude?
How are you?
I'm feeling good.
That's a sick backdrop. Mine's just like way too many closet doors.
I keep having to do these Zoom things and go on things and promote from my house. So I've just kind of been like, I'm trying to figure out what the best backdrop is.
It looks good. It looks like a fucking rad office, you know?
Well, thanks. It's technically my kitchen is right on the other side of the computer, and then this is like the table I sit at when I eat and do stuff. But it's funny because I did a thing for Fox, and I was like, this is probably the best area, I guess, because I've been doing a lot of things on there. And they're like, we would have to contact every one of those artists.
Oh,
to
really?
get clearance. And so, you don't have to get clearance on closet doors.
Yeah, that is true. Maybe hit the manufacturer up.
Are you guys going to sue me if I use this?
No, they'd probably love it. They'd love the advertisement. Oh, man.
So what's with the Cubs hat, brother?
This is from Tacoma. I thought that you would appreciate it.
I don't even recognize it. What is it? I mean, I know Tacoma, Washington. Makes
Right.
me happy, but what is the...
So the Cubs they had a minor league affiliate at Cheney Stadium
Oh, wow.
in, I think, like 66 through 71. Just like a short
Yeah.
little like stint out there. I went to we were at the Tacoma Comedy Club with Samuel J. Comroe back like last year, and I went to go check out a Reniers game because I love baseball.
Me too.
I saw they had the hat there, and I'm like, okay, that's kind of weird because like I was it was all the R like for the
That's a hat I wear all the time.
Right, yeah, and I was like, okay, that's sick. And then I saw them everywhere, but I never saw like a Tacoma Cubs hat. And
Right.
they had one there, and I'm like, okay, that's kind of different. That's kind of cool. And
I'm shocked. I feel like if you not interviewed, but just asked like 100 Tacoma Rainier fans or anybody like that if they would know that. I bet most wouldn't.
right, yeah. So I saw it, and I'm like, you know what, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I grew up going to like spring trainings games for Cubs in Arizona. So, but I'm a big baseball fan anyway. So it's like I have so many hats of like all different teams.
Well, recently, so this guy, I don't know how interesting this would be, but it's definitely interesting for us, is that this guy sent me a message on Instagram, and he's like, hey, check out what this guy made. And so then I go to that guy's Instagram, some artist, and he's like, I'm bored during quarantine, and I'm making this, he's like a wood carving guy. He makes all this like wooden art. And he goes, I know no one would be interested in purchasing this, but this is something I'm working on just to kill some time. And what it was a wooden art piece, gigantic too, of a Bigfoot. And the Bigfoot is walking like this, like it looks like a Major League Baseball symbol. And the Bigfoot's walking, and he's holding a tree like a baseball bat. And I was like, oh, that is awesome. And it was like neon green. And I was like, dude, I love neon green. I love Sasquatch. I love baseball. What is this? So I reach out to the guy. I'm trying to buy it from him. I didn't realize not only is it a real baseball team, but it's a like a minor league, like a single A team in Eugene, Oregon.
Oh, really? I think I've seen that logo. It's the I can't think of the name. They're
the Eugene Emeralds.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I bought the hat literally while I'm waiting for my art piece.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I've seen that team. I've seen that. I haven't seen them play, but
I learned about a new baseball team pretty close to where I'm from.
right.
And then it's neon green. It's got Sasquatch. It's all the things, and it's Pacific Northwest. It's a perfect marriage.
It checked all the Jeff Dye boxes.
Exactly. It'd be like if you were from Tacoma and you're a huge Cubs fan. It would be like,
Right.
what?
Perfect fit, you know.
Wait, so you grew up in California, though.
Yeah, I grew up in Thousand Oaks. So
Okay. You didn't feel the pressure to be a Dodgers guy or be an Angels guy, or are you?
I'm actually like a diehard Dodgers fan.
Really?
Yeah. You know what? Can I intro really quick? We kind of jumped right into it. Awesome. What's up, people? You are listening on Zoom. We're going to do my podcast. I've been super fucked off on it. I haven't done it for a while, so it's kind of cool to get started back into it. But this is recorded talking with occasional guests. And today I have a super rad guest who I know but don't know.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
feel like we're friends, but like we were just starting to become friends, and then the whole world collapsed.
yeah, it was pretty terrible. But my friend today, my guest today, is Jeff Dye. You've been on Comedy Central. You tour all over the country.
Yeah,
You have a podcast that I love. I listen to it all the time when I'm driving. I don't live in LA anymore. I live up in San Luis Obispo County, so I drive down every week. But yours is one of my podcasts that I listen to. It's
thank
the
you very much. Yeah, I'm putting this on my podcast. This will be this week. You're on the same podcast. We're doing a pod swap.
awesome. So do you want to intro? You want to intro your podcast?
I've already introed you. I do a private. I do like a little one where I get to talk and gush and say nice things about you. Then I just do this, and then I do an outro for the sponsors and stuff like that.
Oh, well, you know what? That's awesome. So I will say it for my fans. You
Sure.
have the Jeff Dye's Friendship podcast. And
Yeah, it's on all things comedy.
yeah. I love that podcast. It's super fun because it's kind of like so many comics inspired me to come up with a podcast, and it's helped me, write better jokes, come up with better material, and just kind of learn about my peers.
Sure. The reason I like doing it is because I think for me, like I love a hang, like that's my favorite part about being a comedian is getting to hang out with other comics and drinking and just doing this thing. But there's a lot of guys in our company who don't drink and they don't hang out. Like there's certain guys, they've got kids or they've got a wife. Like my friend Brian Kiley, who's the head writer for the Conan O'Brien show, he loves baseball. He loves comedy. We have a lot of the common interests. So when I get to hang out with him in a green room, it's great, but then he has to leave because he's got a family.
Right.
And he can't say to his wife like, "Hey, I'm gonna go drink with Jeff Dye, that guy that's way younger than me." Who like he doesn't get to do that. And if he did, his wife would be like, "What are you talking about? No, we've got stuff we've got to do." But he can say to his wife, "Hey, I'm just gonna go be on Jeff Dye's podcast real quick, and I'll be back." So it's like kind of like a forced hang that he can justify, like, "Oh, this is productive for my career. It's professional." But really, we're doing the same thing we would do in a green room.
It's business.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
I love it.
Well, I think that is one of the main things I love about comedy too, is like a good hang.
Yeah,
So it's like I'm so lucky. It's like right now, like I'm touring with, or we were touring with like three of my closest friends.
that's the best.
So it's like we just goof off, and it's so weird because I actually don't drink anymore, but I will stay out as late as humanly. I'll be getting everybody coffee in the morning, but I'm still more hungover than everybody.
Do you ever get the feeling like when you're doing comedy, like during the day, when you're not actually doing it, but like when you're on the road or tour and it's you got like, all right, it's noon, we've got 8 hours till we got to be at the show. Do you ever think to yourself like, how am I getting away with this? How is this allowed?
All the time.
Yeah,
I used to, because I was working. I've worked so many jobs. I was like working at a restaurant, and I worked at a rehab for a stint of time.
oh,
And like those were jobs I had to show up on time for. It was like a set schedule. With this, it's like sometimes I'll get a call and it's like, "Hey, at 8 p.m. tonight, can you show up?" And I'm like, "Let me just look at my schedule. I'm playing Call of Duty or Red Dead. Let me just clear a couple things off. Yeah, I'll be there."
exactly. And it's so fun. Like I remember like when I first started working like the road in 2006, 2007, me and my buddy, we were just like in a hot tub. And we had like probably 6 hours till we had to be to the gig, and we like had cigars, and I was just sitting there going, I can't believe that this is a job. Like, I felt like a cop was gonna come in and be like, "Hey, the jig is up. All right, they're not paying you anymore to go talk on stage." I just couldn't believe like we were getting paid. Like they put up us in the hotel and they're like, "Hey, just show up whenever. Also, it's totally encouraged for you to drink for free at the establishment and flirt with the wait staff. That's all normal." Like comedy's just the weirdest, best job in the world.
It feels like a complete highway robbery. It's like, how are we getting away with this?
Insane. Yeah, and it's also this is how I know it's like my first love or like my true love is that if tomorrow someone did say, "Okay, that's not a job anymore," I would still go do it for free. I would like work a regular job, and then at night I would go try to tell jokes and get attention, and do the exact same thing.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's one of those things where it's like right now I miss it more than anything, and people are like, "Do a Zoom comedy show," and I'm like, I don't want. It doesn't have that magic for me.
I haven't watched any of them, but I've gotten a bunch of offers to do them. And whenever I go live on Instagram, I'm like, "Do you guys want to see me do that?" And people are like, "Yeah, we'll buy tickets, blah blah." But I don't think I'm gonna do it.
To me, it loses the allure because it's like part of the magic is like walking up on stage and like that vulnerability. It's like part of like when I first started doing the podcast, I was having a hard time securing guests. So it was a lot of it. It just felt like a open mic in my garage,
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
and I'm bombing
Right.
in front of a wall.
When also I think like if you need the money, I would say do it. To comics. But also like if people are going there knowing like, oh, I'm a big fan of Sam's or Jeff's, like I want to watch him do this thing, I would say don't do it because it's never going to be as good as even like a guest set or like you going on stage somewhere. So now people are going to watch it and go, huh, like that was all right. Like I don't want my fans to ever feel like that about me.
Right. I don't want somebody to watch me performing in my bedroom.
Yeah.
And that be what they think it's going to be like when I'm at an improv or when I'm doing a show at a professional comedy club. And like, it's like,
I think I'm just gonna hold off. I'll just wait till stand-up's back. I'm not I'm not like hurting for the money. I don't need to do it, and also like I'm staying pretty busy. I might like do like a question and answer or something like that if they want to buy tickets to that, where they can ask me anything, and I'll try to make that funny. But like to do like our art form feels kind of weird.
and there's a podcast that I'm actually a producer on, and it's the same guys I tour with. And that's called the Secret Clubhouse Podcast. And we're doing live Q&As.
Nice.
So we do like the podcast and Q&As on Zoom, and it's been super fun. And people are able to like tune in, and that doesn't feel like. Of course, we're still able to be funny, and we're all able to kind of like jump in off each other. But at the same point, it's not just me drowning in my bedroom.
Right. But are you do people have to pay to watch that?
Yeah, so we charge like a ticket fee, and they hop in, and that way we just say it's like that way it gives us an opportunity to just make a little bit of money because we're not right now at clubs where.
Yeah, maybe I'll do that. And that feels like a lot more reasonable for me. I don't think I would enjoy telling the joke and then like waiting for the computer to like laugh and then me being like, it just I don't know. I think I'm a very secure guy, but that was something that would make me insecure for sure. I'd just be like, I can't do this.
Yeah, and I mean it is cool because it's like we set it up so there's a ton of the boxes on the screen, so you're able to like see people's reactions. So it's kind of fun, and it feels like everybody is just there together.
Yeah.
And like we just muted everybody, and like for the Q&A, we would just unmute somebody. They would ask us a question, and we'd all kind of riff on it, and then go, okay, bye.
Oh, that's a great idea. I think I'm gonna steal that idea from you and see, you said it's been fun, right?
Oh, it's been super fun. It's been like the highlight of my week. I'm like, A, I get to hang out with my friends who I miss.
Yeah.
And B, we were already going to be doing it. We were already doing the podcast weekly on Zoom until we can get back to the studio. So it's like,
I feel like this is just a quarantine question for you. Because I keep talking about it with my podcast with like the people that are listening, and whenever I do lives, like people ask me, they're like, what are you doing in quarantine? I feel like the more privileged you are in life, the easier quarantine is because you have so much stuff. Like I have a ton of shit at my house. I'm like a single guy, so I have like a stupid arcade machine, and I've got all these. I got like a motorcycle with a sidecar, and like I have all of the shit that makes it pretty enjoyable. Like I'm like, all right, and I got a new puppy, and he's running around and having fun. And so, what is your quarantine situation? Are you enjoying it, and do you have any advice for anyone that's in quarantine?
Wow, that's actually a great question. Yeah, I live with my parents.
Oh, that's great.
That's awesome. Like me and my mom, we miss like going out to restaurants, but we've been bringing the restaurants to us. Like we'll cook at home, and like me and my mom will cook dinner, and my dad will fall asleep with a book in his hands. And it feels like when I was growing up, minus me showing up to the house high.
Right. Well, and also you were probably at an age where you enjoy their company a lot more than when you had to be in their company.
100%. Like I was telling my dad I wanted to start like a YouTube thing where it's just like him telling me a story he's already told me 500 times. but he's got insane stories. I mean, my dad used to work in the record industry, and like he's such a knowledgeable guy, but he loves telling me the same shit.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's their glory days. You know, it's like kind of like Jesus when he was a teenager. There wasn't much to report. You know, so he's just retelling you all the good stuff, and then now he's like, "Well, I had you, and I'm married. Like what? You know, I don't work for a record company."
I ever tell you I could turn water into wine?
Yeah,
Yeah, we're all pretty lit, Jesus.
we've heard.
We know.
I wonder too, like, you should consider this because I'm quarantined alone. I have my dog, and I've seen like a few of my friends. Like, I'm keeping a small circle that will come through and we'll drink together and stuff like that occasionally. I know that that's going to get me in trouble because I said that, but you know, I've seen probably 3 different people over and over, and then my dog. And but since you're with your parents, that'd be a great like separate podcast to do. Would be like, okay, you get to ask my dad for advice. And you just there sitting with your dad and like all the people that are in your forum of like the same people from your podcast, the way you had it on Zoom, they can just ask, you know, his advice on things.
I can already tell my dad would just tell everybody to pick up cycling for 100 episodes straight.
He's a bicyclist.
Yeah.
Nice. And so your dad's fit.
My dad is in better shape than I was in high school, and I was in like really good shape. My dad's jacked.
That's insane.
Like, yeah.
Your dad's like Bryce Harper's dad.
Yeah, no, yeah. My dad, he'll be like, "Oh, I went on a short ride today. I rode 60 miles." I'm like, "You rode 60 miles?
That's insane.
Like on a bike?"
Yeah. I bought a bike. I never used it. And then like months later, I was like, all right, I'm going to do the bike thing. You know, I bought a bike. Let's do this. I went down in the garage and the tires were flat because it hit over time. I guess that happens. So I was like, I don't have a bike pump. So I bought one on Amazon. And then like a week later it comes. And then I didn't know how to pump it up. Like the thing was all confusing. I was like, I don't know how to do this. So I had a bike for probably 8 months, never rode it. And then I literally, me and Aaron Marsh, I don't know if you know him, comedian Aaron Marsh.
So, yeah.
Great guy. We decided to just film me putting it out on the sidewalk in front of my house. And every hour we would go check on it to see if anyone stole the bike because I want to see how safe my neighborhood was. And it stayed on the sidewalk in front of my house, unlocked, unmonitored or anything for probably like 3.5 days before someone took it.
That's a great social experiment.
Yeah, oh, it's awesome, and I'm gonna do it next with pornography.
I feel like those will go pretty quick.
I don't know, we'll see. Because I had a porn star on my podcast named Christiana Sin, and she's great and she's awesome. Everyone loves her. I love her. She's a good person. But she brought porn, which I thought was. I was like, what are you doing? Like she brought me like DVDs of her. And then like naked magazines of her. She's like, hey, here's me doing porn. And I was so uncomfortable because like, yeah, I mean, if I want to watch porn, I just go to the computer or something, you know?
Right.
I don't need hard porn, you know, like actual like.
I'm gonna have to take my Red Dead game out of my PS4 to watch this.
Put it in. I was like, no one watches porn like that. And it was even more vulnerable because it was her. It was her handing me her having sex. And so I was like, what I'm gonna do is, because I've obviously never opened them. I've looked at her porn since then, trust me, but I haven't used the copies she gave me. So I'm gonna put it in front of my house, exactly where the bike was, and see how quick. I hope it goes faster than the bike, but we'll see.
So the dude who stole the bike rides up and he's like,
yeah, he's like, this guy's a jackpot.
Hell yeah, what's next? There's just a crock pot out there and cutlery.
He's like, yeah. Well, yeah, I hate it when people leave stuff out in front of their house that has no value. You ever seen that? They're like, there's like a mattress with like a stab stain on it, and like it's all like old. And the person who owned that is so naive and is like, someone will want it. No one wants it. You put trash out in front of your house.
Yeah. Also, that's evidence. There might have been a murder committed on that furniture.
Really? Well, that's the weird thing is like, at least I'm leaving shit people would want. We know someone's going to want a brand new bike with 0 miles on it.
Yeah. And porn, everybody.
Yeah, that's going to get scooped up.
Yeah. You're a liar if you're like, I don't watch. Everybody's watched a porn.
Right. You know, Erica Rhodes claims she has not.
I don't believe that.
I know. Yeah, it's so interesting is because me and Erica Rhodes have a very funny relationship. We've gone back and forth with each other so many times. Like, just we've got a very chippy relationship. Like, we're all get mad about something and then shit. And it's not real mad, but like it's very interesting. One of the things though was that she followed me on Twitter and then unfollowed me like a month later. And I was trying to get to the bottom of why, like in person. And she's like, "Well, I follow people, so they'll follow me, and then I unfollow the people." Like, that's her strategy. So she's getting the follow back, but then unfollows them. And I was like, that's a horrible formula. I hate that formula. That is so stupid. But anyways, we were like talking in the green room of the Comedy Magic Club once, and she claims that she's never seen pornography. And I couldn't get my mind around it, but I was like, maybe there's people like that. Good for her. Like, all right, I trust you, blah, blah, blah. But then like 3 months later, I saw that she followed a porn star. I like went to the porn star's Twitter, and then it said followed by Erica Rhodes, Randy Valera, such and such. And I was like, wait, Erica's never seen porn, but she's following a porn star? And so I asked Erica, and she's like, nah, I don't know who that is. I probably just followed them and was hoping they'd follow me to unfollow. I was like, you scumbag.
Well, I feel like too, it's like because there's not really porn for women.
Right.
But I feel like The Notebook is like for sure a porn for a chick.
Absolutely. Well, the problem is that they don't believe it's fiction. That's the worst part. Like, for them, they're like, no, that could happen. You're like, it can't. It's not logical.
Right. Yeah. No. I just found this out. So there was a SLO County teacher that actually had sex with one of her students like a couple years ago.
Okay.
And got arrested. And she served like 180 days in jail. Also, she is smoking hot.
Wait, so here's the thing, though. How old was the male student?
16.
Okay, yeah, then she should go to prison for a very long time.
A very long time.
Yeah, doesn't matter how hot she is or how...
Right.
Doesn't matter if if it was consensual or not, because technically Michael Jackson had sex with kids consensually. But the problem is that those children were too young to give their consent. And that's exactly what this guy, he might have consented because he's like, my teacher's hot, but sorry, you're not allowed to fuck the teacher. And she's not allowed to fuck you. That's a rule.
Yeah, and that's why I was like, because it's like, well, porn's not real. It's like, well, hold on, I'm putting myself into a hypothetical. If I was in my cooking class and my teacher was a smoke show.
Yeah. I would, they didn't put the kid in jail. I get why the kid's like, yeah, man, this is so good for him.
Yeah, that kid, I guess, became a hero. Because I was talking to somebody at a bar out here, and they're like, yeah, so my old cooking teacher fucked one of the students. And I'm like, well, were they attractive? Was it a male, female? She's like, she was a smoking hot female. I'm like, awesome. Like,
I know that gives me a type of jealousy I've never felt before.
Yeah.
Like, it's like I'm already ashamed when I feel jealous of people. Like, someone gets a Netflix special that I don't like, and I'm like, how? Why don't I have this? But I was such a not popular kid with the girls when I was growing up, and this kid went to next level. Not like the hottest girl in his class, not like a college girl, the teacher, the hot teacher.
Yeah, that's like the most alpha thing you can do in high school.
Yeah, that's insane. I don't know who it was. God, it was either a friend of mine who's very funny, or it was an actual stand-up comedian. And I feel bad that I can't give them the credit for this, but they were talking about, like, everybody talks about these kids that have sex with these hot teachers, and they talk about the hot teacher, they talk about the kid. No one's ever talking about the poor husband of that hot teacher. Like, how humiliating.
Yeah, I'm sure he just kind of brushed that one off. He's like, damn it.
It's in the paper, and he's just going, what? Oh, everyone at work's gonna read about this? So
I could just picture the breakfast that's happening that when he finds out. Wait, you're going to jail.
Oh God, you did what? Couldn't you fuck my friend Lenny at the plant?
Yeah, he's of age.
Yeah, that would be less humiliating for me if you just had sex with like the neighbor guy. Why did it have to be a 16-year-old boy? Ugh, it must have been so bad.
Yeah. Well, no, it's so crazy too, because like I went to high school. I grew up out in Thousand Oaks, California. Yeah. I'm actually like we talked about it earlier. I'm a big Dodger fan, but I love baseball. I think I just fell in love with baseball from my dad. But somebody Christian Yelich, who plays for the Milwaukee Brewers, I think he was 2 years younger than me. He went to my high school, so he is an alumni with me. And it's crazy because so me and Christian Yelich, we hooked up with the same girl in high school. And I always think to myself, and I'm like, she's never thinking about the fact that in 2014 I was in rehab. She's thinking about in 2014 she hooked up with a dude who won a Gold Glove.
Absolutely. One of the best baseball players playing right now.
Yeah.
But she probably, I mean, girls are different than us dudes. Like, she thinks about you, too. Like, she's going to be like, oh, he's like a funny comedian now. Like, I guarantee it's not like.
Hope so.
She does, for sure. Because, like, this is a horrible thing to say, but I think a lot of guys, they don't even recall some of the girls they've hooked up with. Whereas, like, girls hang on every single one. And like, oh, can you believe I had sex with Luke? Luke's a loser now. And you're like they kind of keep tabs on that, I feel like, a little bit.
Yeah.
So you said your dad. Actually, let me ask you this. Who's your favorite Dodger? This is just for something else.
So my favorite Dodger would probably have to be God, it's so tough because like right now in this era, I feel like it has to be Cody Bellinger.
Right, he's great.
He's just a six-tool player.
Right.
You know? But people give him so much flack, but like I love Clayton Kershaw. I think when you think of what a monster he is.
Who gives him flack?
Well, I think so many people about the postseason failures and.
Yeah, it's pretty tough when you got teams that are cheating against him. You know, that hurts.
That definitely hurts. But I mean, like you see, and even when there were teams that weren't cheating,
yeah,
he still struggled in the postseason.
Yeah,
you know, he didn't have that form that it didn't look like natural Kershaw.
Okay,
if that makes sense.
Yeah, he's still. I mean, he's young, right?
Yeah, I mean, he in baseball years he's getting up there, but he's 32.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was just asking for selfish reasons that has nothing to do with this podcast for you. Yeah, Christian Yelich once sat in front of me on an airplane, right? I was flying from like Arizona to like LAX or Arizona to Burbank or something like that. And he sat right in front of me. And I felt like no one around knew it was Christian Yelich. But the bad part about living in Los Angeles is that like you could be Brad Pitt and people would still just be like, don't look at him. He'll get a big head about it. Like they do, everywhere else. Like if I'm walking through an airport in like Wisconsin, people are like, are you Jeff Dye? Like they can't like
right.
Even my level, they're like losing their mind that they saw someone that's on TV once. But like in LA, nobody ever gives any of that credit. So nobody cared about Christian Yelich. But I'm sitting there going, dude, Christian Yelich is sitting right in front of me. But he was sitting right in front of me. So as I peeked through the two seats, I could see what he was doing on his phone because I'm like directly behind him. And he's going through like his DMs on Instagram, like the ones that are in like the file that's like the requests, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, it was just girls, just all these girls shooting their shot in Christian Yelich's DMs. And then he slides back over to the ones that he's responded to, and it's just girls. Like it's so those are all the hot ones, and then these are all the ones that he's just not replied to. Yeah. I couldn't believe it. I was like, this guy's life must be insane.
I mean, that's got to be incredible. You know, like I always think because for like I know you're a big Pacific Northwest guy. You know, I mean Ken Griffey Jr. for like people in like younger than me even. I feel like Mike Trout is their Ken Griffey.
Oh, interesting.
You know, because when I was 8 years old, I think I was 8 years old. Ken Griffey just hit his back-to-back 56 home run seasons.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, the reason I think that's a tough comparison is because that might be California's Ken Griffey Jr.
Right. That's true.
But it's definitely not the same because, like, I remember, and now that I'm 37 years old and as I travel around, everybody goes, dude, I love Griffey. Like guys in Florida were like, Griffey was my favorite player, but I rooted for the whatever team. So they would like, they would always, that was like the caveat, like Griffey was my favorite. And I was like, but you grew up in Boston. Like, I know, but Griffey was like, I didn't root for the Mariners, but I love Griffey. And it's such a cool, I love that feeling.
Well, I mean, but it speaks numbers to like, A, that character, and B, the talent, you know, the talent spoke for itself. I mean,
it was different times. I think like back then, like stars shined more brightly. Like there's never going to be another Michael Jordan. Like LeBron might, I don't know about talent wise, but LeBron seems like a giant star. Like in every caveat, he like built a school. He's in movies. He does all these things, but he still doesn't shine as brightly as like Jordan did.
Right. And like even on like the villain side, you know, it's like
Yeah.
the people that thought Jordan was this villain, it's like he even shined in that light, you
It's
know?
insane. Yeah, and I feel like Griffey was like that. Like there was like this magic about that time where like to be a celebrity in 1992 was like there's nothing comparative to it. You know, that you couldn't go to Griffey's Twitter and see like what he was eating or what his wife looked like. Whereas like now it's like we have this contact which makes it not as special. But yeah, that's funny. So Mike Trout was your guy growing up or no?
No, mine was Griffey. You
Oh,
know?
I see. Yeah.
Mine was Griffey. I think like when I was growing up though, the Dodgers, they didn't really have, I don't think Clayton Kershaw really came onto the scene until around 2008. But my favorite Dodger when I was a kid was Eric Gagne, you know,
Really?
coming out of he had the goatee,
Yeah.
big goggles. He was coming out to welcome in the jungle. Dodger Stadium was just rumbling.
I hated pitchers till I was like this age. Like I was never a pitcher guy. I like besides Nolan Ryan. Nolan Ryan was great and fun, but like I like a big, stupid, steroided, muscular. Like I like a Juan Gonzalez. You know, I liked Eric Karros for a little while because he seemed like this new stud who was kind of like the Robin Ventura of the Dodgers. Right. And yeah, I don't know. I like the big, muscly hitters. I like just the guy that can rack home runs. Like anybody from Ken Griffey Jr. baseball. Like if it looked like that, that's who I like.
Right. Yeah. Just super jacked up.
Yeah.
A neck.
They couldn't do enough steroids, if you ask me. It was like, pump them full, man. I love it. That's what guys I like.
Yeah, hitting balls out of the stadium has some allure to it, you know.
Absolutely. What I want to write down Gagne.
Yeah, but no, it's been like I figured I wanted to share this story with you because I feel like it's something that will resonate with you. Just last year, so my friend Max, he's not a comic, but he's a big baseball guy. Loves the Seahawks, loves the Mariners. He was like, I need to take you to a Mariners game. And I was like, I would love that. I would love nothing more than that. And we went, and it was Mike Leake's like near perfect game.
Nice.
And we went, and it was so fun because we were like just channeling our inner kids. Like we were running around the stadium. We bought seats for like top deck, and like we were just sitting in every different section, different inning. Yeah. And like we were like kind of invested in the game, but like more invested in like snacks and like running around taking pictures, and we finally realized around the seventh inning, we're like, holy shit, he's got a fucking perfect game going.
Yeah, which is exciting.
Yeah, and then my buddy, he's like super superstitious, and he's like, we can't watch. We haven't been watching. That's why it's perfect. So we spent like the rest of the game not watching the game and just listening to it while we were like exploring the stadium.
That's hilarious.
And right in the ninth, he's like, I have to see this because if I don't watch it,
at least the last out or something, you know?
He's like, if I don't watch it and it happens, I will be so pissed.
Yeah.
I didn't get to witness that. So we're walking right out, and then I think it was like Luis Renfro or something on the Angels just hits a single.
Ugh.
And the whole stadium's like, no. It was like such a Mariners thing to happen.
It is. I can't tell you how many times there's almost been a no-hitter for the Mariners. And then on the other side of the coin, how many times I'll read, so-and-so for the Chicago White Sox throws a no-hitter. I'm like, oh, good for him. And then I look up, and it's against the Mariners. Like, it's like so many heartbreaking things just happen. You know that we're the losingest team in sports?
It's like tough to believe that.
Yeah.
Because there is, like, when you think of it's such like for me, and this is like when I'm just thinking about baseball as a whole, I think, and I'm a little biased because I grew up and Griffey was my hero.
Yeah.
You know, but like I love their jersey color, like the teal jerseys, even the navy blues. They had cool logos. The baby blue, or not the baby blue, the navy blue with the yellow S on. Like I love a jersey that's like that has so many different options.
Absolutely. Well, I like it if it's so I hate that in the NBA. I like it if you stick to a color scheme. I like a lot of options and like maybe one throwback. But right. I don't like when they just straight up don't commit to the colors. Like you'll be watching a game and you're like, oh, the Celtics. And you're like, no, that's the Utah Jazz. Why are they wearing green and white?
Yeah.
That's the purple and yellow team. And then the next game, Jazz will be wearing purple and yellow. And then the game after that, they look like the Phoenix Suns. They have like orange and like you're like, what?
What are you doing? No, and I agree with that. And I think for me, it's like having that vintage throwback jersey, that uniform, but also be able to have like some pop in your jersey.
Yeah.
Like,
well, I like the way the Padres will make like camouflage ones for Sundays.
right.
Yeah, that kind of I like those kind of variables. But like when you just can't commit to anything, that drives me crazy.
Yeah.
I'm trying to look up how many times the Mariners have been to the playoffs because I think we've only been to the playoffs 3 times since we've been a franchise, and we've never been to a World Series.
Oh,
Every other major league team's been to a World Series, and if you think about the worst teams in sports, you think of like the Miami Dolphins. They've won.
right.
You know? If you look at the Buffalo Bills, right, you think they're garbage. They went to 4 Super Bowls in a row, and they lost all 4, but they at least went.
Yeah. And well, that's why I think like even last year when the Nationals went, like I was really excited for that World Series.
Me too, but I was also like super annoyed that like they were the only other part of that statistic. I used to always say there's only 2 teams that have never made the playoffs. Name those teams. And or made the World Series. And everybody would always be like, I don't know, the Expos? And you're like, technically, yeah, the Expos and the Nationals, and then the Mariners. And it's like, now that stat isn't even that interesting because it's just my team.
I know.
Yeah, 4 times.
4 times?
Mariners have made it 4 times.
Oh.
It's devastating.
It's tough.
It's garbage. The Dodgers' storied history. You guys were good in Brooklyn. You're good in Los Angeles. You've got like all these fun things, like all these little chapters. Sandy Koufax. You got Fernando, the Mania, whatever that was called. Yeah. Mariners have nothing. We have Griffey. That's all we got. And maybe Ichiro. You might count that, but we didn't win anything with him.
Right.
Just hit a bunch of base hits. Who gives a shit?
I mean, that dude was a base hit machine. Which
is great, but small ball is only good if everyone's playing it.
Right.
So, like, he'll get on first, and then they'll just get 3 outs. And it's like, we need the whole team to get hit. Yeah, it's so frustrating. One year we won 116 games, which tied for the record, ever. And then we just immediately lost to the Yankees.
Oh, and that's got to be the tough. Like, I'm kind of grateful that the Dodgers aren't in the AL.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think the Dodgers are lucky in the NL division, that they're in.
Yeah, it's a good place to be for sure for their team, but I don't think anybody's better than the Dodgers. I think if you're gambling this year, you put all your money on the Dodgers. I think they win the World Series if baseball comes back. But this Dodger team, I think, is the best team in baseball, easily.
Yeah, it's definitely been exciting to watch. Like that was one of the things that like drove me nuts. Like, so my birthday falls on Jackie Robinson Day, which is April 15th, and like so every year I would go to Dodger Stadium on my birthday. I'd usually go with a bunch of friends, and we would just watch baseball.
Nice.
And that was like I was like super looking forward to that this year. And
so sad.
And then
it's sad that your team is so good and they're this is the year. Like if the Mariners don't play this year, it's like,
right.
We don't play. I think it's interesting that people love Mike Trout so much when he might arguably not even be the best player on his team. Like Ohtani has potential to be the greatest baseball player ever. Like since Babe Ruth, like he can pitch and hit. I don't know. Yeah, I think he had like 20-something home runs when he was hurt.
Yeah.
He was like hurt and not able to pitch because he needed like surgery, and he still hit like 20-something jacks.
And it's a crazy statistic because I mean it's like especially with that team too. It's like the Angels are good and they're slept on all the time.
Oh yeah, I hate them especially because they're the direct rival of my Seattle Mariners. And so when Ohtani was on the market, I even bought this like really expensive Korean toy from Korea of Ohtani. It's like this like really hard to find, expensive, like crazy accurate, good looking toy. It's like more of a model, less toy. And then the second Ohtani went to the Angels, I was like, I own an Angels Ohtani. Like I was like so annoyed about my purchase.
I remember when that was happening, it looked like he was going to the Mariners.
I know. Well, we get all the Asian people, so we were like super arrogant about it. That's the thing. Like Asian players go to play for the Mariners. We got Iwakuma. We had obviously Ichiro Suzuki. We had Kazuhiro Sasaki, Shigetoshi Hasegawa. We had I'm trying to think Chan-Ho Park. We get all these like Asian people because they air all the games in Japan and Korea. They have like a TV contract with the Seattle Mariners, not Major League Baseball, the Seattle Mariners.
Oh, wow.
Then we also, like a lot of people who maybe have never been to Seattle, it's dominantly Asian. That's the majority there because we have Boeing, Microsoft, and Nintendo. So it's like, why wouldn't you want to go play in front of a bunch of Asian people and you get to like your home family gets to watch the games? So it's like, why not? And also the Mariners had Griffey, and those guys grew up watching Griffey, so they're like, yeah, we'll go to the Mariners. They have no idea that we're shit.
Right. Until they play against you.
Yeah, exactly. And they go, oh, I get it.
Oh, okay. Time to rack up a perfect game or a no-no.
Yeah, exactly. That's what happens inevitably.
So like, what did you get introduced to stand-up early? Like, did you start in Seattle or?
I started in Seattle in 2005. I always wanted to be a comedian, but I didn't know what that looked like, if that makes sense. Like, I just knew I wanted to be like Chris Farley, or like I wanted to be funny for a living, but I didn't know how or what that looked like. In fact, if you ask any kids I went to school with, like that's all I ever wanted to be and all I ever wanted to do. I used to open the door. It's kind of humiliating, but I would get to school early, or like we were like one of the first buses, and I would just hold the door open to the main entrance of the school. This is in junior high. And I would just high five everyone as they came into the school, the entire school. And some people would like snub me, not high five me. I'd just be like, good morning, good morning. I high five everybody every morning coming into the school, which is so humiliating. But also like people were just like, what is this guy's deal? Like this like smiley fucking weird kid. But I remember kids being like, yeah, that every time Jeff's on our class, it's like the Jeff Dye show. And I always knew how to like be silly and goofy and get laughs like my entire life, but I didn't know how it worked. And I obviously was never going to go to college because I had horrible grades, like straight D's, straight F's. So when I finally got out of high school, I started working with youth groups in church, and I would do like sketches in front of the kids and characters and silly stuff like that. And then after a few years of doing that, one of my mentors was like, dude, you should start doing comedy. Like if that's what you want to do, like do it. And so I like just dove in, and I went to a comedy club open mic in 2005 at Giggles Comedy Club in Seattle. And from the first day I walked through those doors, even though I was horrible, I bombed hard. I was there every night, whether they were open or closed. I was at Giggles Comedy Club every single night, whether I was watching other comics or whether I was getting up or whether I was hanging out and drinking with the comics. Like I've just since then been obsessed with stand-up comedy.
And yeah, I mean, I think just brushing shoulders while you're there, being around it and immersed in it, is like one of the best things you can do for it.
And it's so fun. I just kept going like, man, these guys all seem so confident. And they all like, you're allowed to, like when I was doing sketches, characters and silly things for the church, you couldn't just say fuck. You couldn't just say, make fun of things. And I was like, man, they're drinking, which seems kind of cool. And then it didn't change my belief system or anything, but just the freedom of being able to do whatever you want. And in fact, because I was like, I didn't want to say the F word on stage, and I didn't want to like talk about sex and stuff, but that made me seem so clean. Like, and all these other corporate gigs are like, we'd love to work with him. He's not cursing. So like that kind of helped me, like not being as graphic as those guys when they spoke on stage. Which gave me a nice lead start, like in stand-up comedy too, because everyone's like, "Oh, he can work clean," which helped. But it's just that was the church in me, just going, "Hey, you can't say fuck in front of the audience."
Yeah, just it, like was able to like tone it down a little bit.
Yeah, but I liked that I could if I wanted. Like if an F word slipped out, I wouldn't go, But like when I was in church, like if an F word slipped out, that was a pretty big deal. Those are like youth group kids.
Yeah, but at a comedy show, you're like audible.
Yeah, exactly. I just I wiggle out of that. How did you start? Like what was the process? I think a lot of people that listen to my podcast are very curious about it because I think either a small percentage are comedians aspiring, or there's a small percentage that it's in the back of their head, like maybe I could be. So like, what does that process look like? How did you get into it?
So mine was like similar to you. Like I knew since I was young, I wanted to be a comic. I wanted to do something in comedy, but it felt like a myth. It felt like all these comedians kind of like weren't real.
Right.
I didn't know how to attain that. Like I didn't know that was even like a real thing.
Yeah, there's no stand-up comedy college. There was no like stand-up comedy class in high school.
Yeah, like I remember, I think it was probably like right after I was like 20, my dad's like all the times that the teachers would call us in for parent-teacher conferences, and they were like, We had to sit them outside all day. My dad's like, if they just dropped you off at a comedy club, you probably would be making money right now and not getting fed cheese sticks for 5 minutes, you know? Like,
I love that he saw that,
yeah,
that he was wise enough to see that.
yeah.
I
So
didn't have a single figure in my life who was like, oh, that could be a job. Like, I had to put that together. Like, I remember thinking to my teachers, like, well, they keep yelling at me for making the whole audience, the whole classroom laugh.
right.
But Chris Farley, that's a job for Chris Farley. Like, he makes, that's, you know what I'm saying? So, like, I was trying to figure that out, route that in my brain. It's like, well, they're getting paid, like, Adam Sandler's getting paid to make wiener jokes and talk about his nuts. And so it's like, well, how am I getting in trouble for, like, this could be a profession. They're like, no, it's not. And I was like, yeah, it seems like it could be. So it's cool that your dad was, like, smart enough to put that together.
Yeah, so it's like, I think my dad too, he realized it because like he worked for Warner Brothers in the like marketing side of the record industry. So like I would find old CDs. So I remember finding like Adam Sandler CDs, like Steve Martin. It's like all these old, like I got grounded for listening to an old Kinnison CD.
Wait, how did you find it?
It was just in our garage. We used to have like, if I was to open one of those closet doors, it would be like the closet would be completely full of CDs.
Oh, okay.
So it's like my friends were making fun.
Fair, they got mad at you.
You were right. I mean, it was just right there for me to find. Like I was finding like weird promotional porn VHSs and like, and
So it's like it would be different if you borrowed it from a friend and they caught you, or if they like you stole it from a store, but it was theirs and you listened to it.
yeah, and that's like how I kind of like feel like you eventually find out what you're meant to do. That stuff just kind of figures itself out,
Right.
you know? So it's like all these different things, these variables like found their way into my life.
Right.
So like I remember I stumbled upon, and my mom used to get so pissed. She'd come downstairs, she'd be like, you can't watch that. I'm watching South Park, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm super young. And then my mom started watching it. And I remember my mom used to watch all the Comedy Central's like specials at like midnight when they would release.
Yeah.
She would like force herself to stay awake and watch with me as I'm just kind of like, I'm just studying them. I'm like, oh my God, that's insane.
Yeah, we're just absorbing and going
Yeah.
like, oh, this is humor. That's what you learn, like what they're kind of doing. Yeah.
Right. And you kind of, at that point, you kind of subconsciously learn like how to structure a joke.
Yeah.
So I realized it's like, I'm not a comic yet. I'm still 13.
Sure.
But I'm able to punch up my bar mitzvah, you know?
Absolutely.
And
Well, like, did you feel like I felt like I was so much funnier than all the other kids in my school? Not because I had some sort of magic in me, but more because they were happy just getting a laugh by like quoting a movie.
right.
And I was like, no, I want to come up with the thing that made them laugh.
Yeah.
So like I would watch these kids get laughs like because they just quoted Happy Gilmore at the right time in class. It's like, no, dude, I need the credit for this. I can't just like copycat something I heard on South Park. That's not
Right.
good enough.
Yeah. And that I think too is like that creation of a joke to
Yeah.
me is like the most beautiful thing. Like I feel like one day I'm going to have a kid and be like, remember when I said making a joke was beautiful? I was wrong.
No, I think that it's this. I think it's the very same thing. That's why we take it so personal if someone steals a joke, or if you find out that someone, told your joke, is because it is like our babies. Like I don't have kids. Like that's what I have. I got jokes, and that my act is taking really good care of me. Like if you think about it, like if anybody ever wants to buy a bit from you, you have to really think about that because I could do. Just if I never write any more bits, I could still have a very fantastic career just using the bits I've already written and pay my mortgage for the rest of my, you know what I'm saying? Like, so there's so much value in it. Whereas a kid just costs you money. Yeah. It costs you lots of money.
Yeah. Yeah. I was getting in trouble a lot, but so one of our mutual friends, James Fry, he was running shows at like a local bar in Thousand Oaks. Cause he actually grew up about half a mile from where I did.
Oh, nice.
So I ran into him at a house party, and he had his like business card, and of course it's like him with angel wings and a naked body, and it's just
real businessman, you know?
right. I felt like
with his beard and his big hairy everything, and then some wings that are superimposed. Seems like not a business at all, doesn't it?
right, yeah. Like if anybody listening doesn't know who James Fry is, Jeff held up a hat of a Sasquatch Hold
and
it.
that's what he looks like.
That's exactly what James looks like.
Which is why I think I like him so much. I'm a big Bigfoot mark. And so
Yeah.
when I see James, I'm like, hey, hug me.
He's so lovable.
Yeah.
But I met him at a party and he was making people laugh. And I think like, instead of like wanting to fight, I was like, okay, let's throw down. So like,
yeah, it's like, oh, I'll show him what funny is.
all right, let's be funny. And instead I was just a drunk mess. But he actually gave me one of my first opportunities. I think the first time I ever actually got up, I was doing a class at the Comedy Store. And then I was like, I don't really need a class. You know,
I always tell people like, if you want to learn something, and this is a quote from Doug Stanhope, if you want to learn about stand-up comedy and you want to be a stand-up comic, don't take a class. Buy a comedian a beer. We never shut the fuck up about this business. Just buy us a beer. We will tell you anything you ask us. But, and if you want it to go longer, buy us 2 beers. Buy it. Like, that's comedy class.
Yeah, and that's what I learned, and that was like my intro. So it's like I ended up going to the store, and I became comfortable there.
Yeah.
And of course, it's like I was a real bad comic. Like,
we all were. Yeah.
Right. For a long time, and it's like I'm still like my own biggest critic. I wouldn't say I'm a great comic, but I'm still learning. I'm still figuring out my voice on stage.
When I was in school, if you'd have asked any of the kids that liked me or hated me, they would go, that was the funniest kid at our school. That guy he would do anything for a laugh. He was suspended all the time. He ran for office just so he could get in front of the students' assembly. Yeah. I mean, I was easily the funniest kid in class. But I wasn't a stand-up comedian. I was a horrible stand-up comedian when I started stand-up comedy because it's totally different, And right. You can't just get on a stand-up comedy stage and fart in the chair. But that brings the house down in 9th grade English. Like, if I just fart off the chair as loud as I can. Being funny and being a stand-up comedian there's a big gap there. So it's like everybody sucks at first, for sure.
Yeah, and I feel like that's been the most fun for me, is like filling that gap.
Sure.
Because it's like I'm meeting people along the way that I'm looking up to, and all these people have different things that they bring to the table, and you kind of like learn. You're like, oh, I don't need that character because I'm my own character.
Right.
I need to identify what that is, but it's also fun to aspire to be like, oh, that's somebody's like persona that I value. It's like they have something that I feel like can add to my stage presence. Not copying, but it's like I'm learning from that.
Sure. No, that makes total sense. I always say too is like, you've got to figure out what they like about you. So like I had to learn that because I would be able to write a really good edgy joke, and I was able to write a really good slam on a certain group of people. And then I started going, but that's not what people like about me. What people like is that I'm silly and playful, and I'm actually nice in real life, and I'm not going to get away with the same jokes Doug Stanhope is. And my crowd doesn't want that from me. And in the same way, like I'm not that guy, So why would I try to, and those aren't my people. Why try to speak to people that aren't my people? Let's speak to figure out what they like about you and then just run with it. And that's the quickest way to like get a huge fan base.
Yeah. And I feel like that's been helping me grow a lot. Like where I'm at now in my career is it's like, I've kind of found my voice. I feel like I'm just like your run-of-the-mill kind of guy. I'm likable, but not. I'm like bargain bin hot. It's like finding like that thing of Oreos, that was kind of discontinued, but like really good.
Well, I think that's what people are going to enjoy about you is because like comedy is so weird in the fashion that stand-up comedians, and this is just my opinion, it's going to sound cocky. I believe stand-up comedians are better than regular people because we're funny and we're more interesting, and we were able to make this work for a career. And when I say better, I just mean like we're different. So to be the guy on stage, you're so much different than the 200 people that are watching you. Because if they were the same, they'd be up there. But they aren't. They're here watching, and you're here. And so you're different, and in my opinion, a little better than these people. But you can only talk and do things that are going to make them identify with you. So if you're different than them, how do you make a bunch of people who aren't like you identify with you? That's impossible. Like, what I'm saying? So you can't be so different that they're just like, what is this? Like, this guy is a psycho. Like, they're not going to identify with it. Right. But if you're close enough to them, but not the same, is the secret, like, spot. Like, think about, like, you want, like, you're in a good position because they're going to go, oh, he's like me, but he's just funnier. Or like, you know, I feel like I work with a guy like that, but he's funnier. Like, so that's like a good place to be. That's why a lot of comics have to be like alternative comedians, is because it's just too far for us to connect with. Like, I'm like, this guy hates sports and he's got like a bunch of piercings and he's talking about how he let his roommate blow him. Like, I have trouble connecting with that comedian.
Right.
I can't identify with any of those things. So it's very tricky. But yeah, you look like a guy I would hang out with in Seattle.
Yeah, that's awesome. I feel honored. You know, I've had multiple clubs tell me that that just my overall kind of like friendly happiness kind of reminds them of Bert Kreischer. And to me, I was like, I feel honored to even be mentioned, you know? And
I love that.
yeah, and it's super, I feel like for me too, it's one of the things that I've been learning is about how to like take my sobriety stories and really get into the humor there. Because I know there's like a lot of it's really unrelatable, but a lot of it's incredibly relatable.
I think that you should steal this idea from me and my friend Mike. My friend Mike Cummings used to be a comedian and he quit. And he quit because it was driving him crazy. Like, he was like, the business is weird. He didn't enjoy it. And what he found that he enjoyed was getting married. And he really loves being a husband, and he really loves their relationship. And he's been on this kind of journey. And he was a good comedian, but he just hated it. And he was like, he hated the comics around him. He hated watching shitty comics that are trying to be comics. He always says that if he could do something, he wanted to start basically a program where he goes to open mics and tells them, like, you don't have to do this. You know, he tried to save people, you know, because some people are made for comedy, and there's a lot of people that are doing comedy that weren't.
Right.
But anyway, the reason I bring him up is because he's been sober for, I think, 25 years now, maybe even longer. And he was trying to write material that would work dominantly for rehab, like rehabilitation place, and then book a corporate tour where like rehab places hire him as the comedian, because those corporate gigs make good money. But those people are also, they're not like businessmen. They're people who have been through something, you know, that they've like literally. So if you could make those jokes that they're good, so your whole audience is going to be like, we can identify with this. Like, that's going to be a good way to make some good coin.
Well, I remember actually, it's funny you bring that up. One of the first times I ever got asked to do 45 minutes, I was like, I maybe have 30, which really meant I have 15.
Right, but I can stretch. Yeah.
But it was a sober event, and it was for like 350 people. And the guy was like, I want you to do 45. And I was like, awesome. And he was like, but
your wings.
Yeah. And he was like, be clean. And I was like, what? And I was like, I'm kind of okay. And I went up there and I like started to be clean, and I'm like, it just didn't feel right. And I'm like, who in here smoked heroin? And like all the hands shot up. And I'm like, I was told to be clean, you know?
Heroin addicts. Yeah, that's hilarious.
That's so stupid, you know? But I had such a great time there, and I found so much material that came from it. And I think that was one of those rare gigs, because somebody asked me, they're like, what's one of the like those gigs that you had that you felt like you made it, like you're a real comic? And even though I struggled a bit, that was one of those gigs where everything was clicking, and I was able to spread my wings. I was having fun. It felt like every joke I said was new.
But also that'd be a good place for you too, because it'd be a horrible, like, I love to drink, and there's a lot of comics who love to do a ton of drugs and whatever drug of their choice. So if you brought us into those situations, it might just make it seem fun for them to drink and maybe do drugs, because they go, oh, you know, he's handling it, and he loves the sauce. Whereas like with you, you're on the other end of it, you know. So like you can, like, they could go, look, we could be like that. Like, he's sober and he's successful and he's making us laugh and he's doing jokes, but he doesn't feel the need to do that. I'm telling you, like, it'd be almost inspirational for him also. Like, it's like a little bit of a good way to make money first, but then second of all, like, you're doing a good thing for a good group.
Yeah. And we share a lot of the same friends, and like our friends drink.
Yeah.
I love that about them. I would never change that.
Yeah.
And like, I remember when I was like newly sober, some of them were like, is it a good idea that you come around? And I'm like, yeah, fuck it. Like,
yeah.
You guys do all of it. Like, I just want to be like, I can't, you do double. Like,
when it's also like a lot of bartenders are that way. Like there's a ton of bartenders who used to be addicts, and they love the idea that they get to be around alcohol all day without, they can be around it, and they're like, look, I'm beating this, that I'm around alcohol all day and I'm still have no desire to touch the stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that was my hardest breakup. I was like 24, and like my life did not pan out the way I thought it would. I was like playing frisbee in a park with a rehab, like a golden retriever. Like that's not like how I pictured 24 years old being.
Yeah, exactly. That's tough.
But no, I mean, it's been super fun. So like James gave me my start in stand up, and that's how I met a lot of the guys that, like, I remember I met JC Carias through James, and he became like an older brother to me.
Yeah, I love that. Well, I love that. I think that like you're going to be in a good spot for all that stuff. Like I think that gives you like a unique position that like you'll totally be able to subsidize for sure.
Yeah, and it's been like such a fun growth, because it's like I have these peers that, of course, like a lot of them are like insanely talented and like are making great careers for themselves, and I'm able to like witness that, and I'm proud for them. And then I'm also like, I remember my dad saw JC when he was just on Conan.
Okay.
And like JC, before that episode aired, I was running a little show at a brewery, and JC did my show. And he wanted to go first so that he can go and do the viewing party. And my dad was like, how cool is it that like you're performing with one of your best friends on the same show, and then that night you're able to watch them on Conan. You know, as my dad started to watch more and more of my friends and my peers appear on Conan O'Brien, the late night shows, you know, the Tonight Show, all these different shows, my dad's like, this could be real.
Yeah, of course. And like that's why it's fun. It's because like I think most parents get to see their kids do like, oh look, he graduated high school. Oh, he graduated college. Oh, he got his first job. Or they can kind of see this ladder. Whereas with comedy, and I'm not speaking for my parents because they were not part of it, but I think most parents are going, what is he doing? He's down there drinking with his buddies, and he's talking about inappropriate things, and then they just see him on the Tonight Show and go, oh, holy shit, they were right. Like that's, you know, that's a real, like a thing about Fahim Anwar. His parents like were like, you're going to be an engineer and you're going to go to this school, and that's not where Fahim's very capable of that, but like what he wants to do is make people laugh. That's what he's also very great at that. And so it's very funny. Like I haven't talked to Fahim necessarily about it, but like his parents at some point have to go, oh shit, like we were wrong. Like that lifestyle is very good, but like this is also it's easier money, it's quicker money, it's more money. So it's kind of an interesting thing to be a parent. Like you think you're keeping your kids safe, but you're keeping them from doing these cool things that are attainable. Yeah,
not only attainable, but like what you actually love.
Right.
You know, like my dad recently told me this, and it almost made me cry. He was like, if I knew that you could do one thing instead of comedy, I know that you would be a baseball player.
Oh, really?
I was like,
that's a good feeling. See, because if we would go play baseball, right? Let's say we play wiffle ball, or we do like a home run derby, we go to a batting cage. You'll go home and say, oh man, Jeff's really good. Jeff's good. But if you'd have met me in junior high, high school, any of those ages, I was horrible. All I could do was catch. I was like Ray Ordonez. Like I could catch, but I would go 0 for 4. Yeah. And the competitive side of me wasn't there. I wasn't big yet. I was super thin. When I run, someone said, you look like you're running in slow motion. And I was like, what? Like, it's like the worst. It was so defeating. And so like, yeah, my dad would never say that sentence. He'd be like, listen, if I knew you could do anything, it'd be silly and fuck off for money. Like, that's what I knew you could do.
Yeah. And well, I mean, that's why I have an admiration for you, because it's like, I was watching, you're throwing out all these first pitches at baseball games, and you're, of course, a huge baseball nut and just a sports fan in general. And I was like, this dude would be fun to, you know, A, throw a beer back with, in my case, a LaCroix, and B, throw a ball around, you know?
Absolutely. Well, and that's the fun thing too, is like, I will whore out my celebrity any way possible to like get like, you know, like normally I'm pretty modest as far as like, if people ask me about my career, I don't try to talk about it much. But if it's going to get me like a first pitch at like a baseball stadium, I'm like, oh, I've been on this, I've done this. I'm like name dropping Terry Bradshaw. And I'm like, oh yeah, me and me and John Legend and Chrissy Teigen, yeah, we hung out. It's like I'll do anything to try to get those little nuggets, like throw a first pitch.
Yeah. And that it's funny because like after shows, and I'm sure this happens to you all the time, after shows you'll go out and the people that you just made laugh are like, now be funny. And you're like, I just was.
I know.
You know?
Actually, I don't mind that because I'm kind of like always on anyways in a way. And so like, and I love drinking with strangers and hanging out and meeting girls and stuff like that. So like, that's one of my favorite parts about stand-up is after the show. And all the people going, oh, they treat you like you did something for them when we really did it for ourselves in a lot of ways. Like we like the attention. We like being funny. We like getting the laughs. And they're treating us like we're doctors or like, you know, like it's so, I've still never gotten over it. I'm like, I can't believe this guy, a man, is here buying me drinks.
Yeah.
Like, you know how hard it is to impress a dude?
Right.
No construction worker has ever been at a bar and a stranger, like a businessman comes in and goes, let me buy you a beer. There's always a motive. He's trying to have sex with them or something like that. These are just dudes going, hey man, love your work. It's insane.
Yeah. Yeah. Here's a Tito's, man, just for you. I'm like, I don't drink. And he's like, well, you're gonna. And I'm like, all right.
I get that all the time. I'm like already too drunk. And then they're like, come on, have a shot of whiskey with me. And I'm like, I'm going to die. Like this, can't do another shot of whiskey.
Yeah. I'm always, it's so hard because I'm always like, you know, thank you so much, you know, and I'm like, would you be offended if I give it to the waiter or the bartender? They've been working their ass off. The bartender's like, fuck yeah, I'm in.
Absolutely.
You know, and I'm like,
that's a good old scam. I don't know if I've ever talked about this on my podcast, but for comics who don't drink or just don't want to drink that night, what they'll do is they'll say, hey, anyone that orders me a shot from the stage, just put a fake alcohol in it. Put whatever the color of the alcohol is. So if it's whiskey, make it something brown. If it's tequila, make it soda water, whatever the fuck. I don't know how it works. And then I'll bring it to the stage. I'll pretend I'm doing it. And then you keep the money. Charge them for the shot, and then you get to keep 100% of the money. And so then I'd even solicit the crowd, like, hey, who's going to buy me a shot? I'm out of shot. So then and now the staff's making extra money. I'm not getting drunk. They think I'm a legend. It's a little different for you, though, because they know of your sobriety.
Right. That's the slippery slope, you know?
Yeah.
So, but
you wouldn't want that miscommunication, like someone's videoing you, like taking shots, and then be like, hey, I thought this.
You're right. My sponsor's now calling me, hey, bud. I
It
saw
was fake alcohol.
Yeah, it was fake. Oh, was the taser fake? The taser video after?
That wasn't a real cop I fought. This is a fake jail.
Yeah. But it's I know we probably got to wrap up soon, but this has been fun, man.
Yeah, man. And also, if you want to play catch, that's as long as you can throw farther than 6 feet, I think it's safe.
Yeah.
I've been going to the park, putting masks on, playing wiffle ball and stuff. It's been fun. I don't know when this crap's going to be over, but when it is, we can also hang out even closer in person.
That would be lovely, man. I know we've talked about going to a game in the past, and that would be super fun. And even when we went to go to the Wildcats games, when that's going on again.
That's a damn shame. You know that it's not coming back.
Oh, it's not?
They made an announcement it's not. Because of they took such a hit, on the thing. But also, I have imagined that since Vince McMahon owns it, they'll find a way. That they're just saying it's not coming back so they can file bankruptcy or whatever. Like, I'm sure that it's some sort of money scam and it'll be back.
Yeah, because it was too much fun, man. I mean,
I went to every game.
Yeah, I think I only went to 2, but it was so much fun.
I went to every home game, and then there was one time when the Wildcats were on the road in the same city that I was on the road. So I went and watched them at MetLife in New Jersey, which is New York. Oh,
right, I remember. Yeah, I remember you saying that. And was that fun to see him on the road?
No, it was horrible because it was so cold.
Oh.
Like, you don't want to be, what I don't even know what month it was, like February in New York City, technically New Jersey. So we had to take the train through. It was so cold and gross. It was awful.
Yeah, because we were spoiled. I mean, it was in the
awesome. Yeah, we're getting tanned.
80s. Yeah.
I loved it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this has been super fun. I have one last question for you.
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm not sure if it'll be long or short, but you were on a show on NBC, Better Late Than Never.
Yes.
And you had, I think it was Henry Winkler, Shatner, right? And Foreman and Terry Bradshaw?
Yes, sir. Those are the 4.
Those are what was that like?
That show was so fun. It was like literally the most fun show. They just fly you first class to like all these incredible places, and then like, all right, you're gonna go have dinner at this like castle, and then they would just film us, and whatever happened, like it would be like a 3-hour dinner of them just telling these great stories and us literally laughing and chopping it up, and me just trying to get in jokes whenever I can.
Yeah.
And then they would go, all right, now you guys can go back to the hotel and go to sleep or whatever. And then they would just trim that dinner into like the best parts, kind of like a highlight reel of our conversation. And they would do that in tons of different things. So not only did we get to go to these great places, but I get to hang out with 4 guys who have the best stories in the world.
Right.
And then also we're getting to do like all the best stuff for free. So whatever the thing was for that town, like a robot bar in Kyoto, Japan, or going to, riding elephants in Thailand or whatever it was, they would just take us there. We were like VIP. They'd pay for everything. We'd cut the whole line of tourists like waiting to do that stuff because we had a film crew. It was literally like, it felt like it wasn't real even when we were doing it.
Right.
You're going to float this log all the way down the Serengeti. It was like the weirdest things. Every single day was so much fun. And I got to be very close with Terry Bradshaw. So he's kind of like a new father figure to me, which has been great. And it's been awesome. It was great. I wish that we did 100 more seasons.
Do you think there will ever be another season of it?
If they do, they're going to have to do it pretty soon, but I just feel like they probably won't. I've kind of moseyed on over to Fox. My NBC deal went up and they didn't want to renew it. So I'm actually going to be on The Masked Singer on May 6th. I'm a guest judge on Masked Singer. And then I'm on a show called After the Mask. And then I'm on a show on Fox also called I Can See Your Voice with Ken Jeong. So I've kind of went over to Fox. So I don't know. I guess it could maybe work. I just don't know if they'd want it to work.
Right.
And also, William Shatner's 89 years old.
Oh, wow.
That's pretty old.
Yeah. That's
So
getting up there.
they would have to do it pretty soon, I think. I think these guys, their time's ticking on some of these guys.
Oh, man. But yeah, it's so funny because my dad actually, I caught him watching that show a while ago.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So when I showed
What were you watching on Hulu?
I think he was watching it on Hulu.
Oh, nice. That's hilarious.
Yeah. And I showed my dad some of your clips and he's like, he's great, man. So it's cool. It's cool that my parents have become involved with comedy and they're able to start seeing all these different comics and they feel invested. It gives them.
Yeah, I love that. Wait, so when you had the brewery show that your dad got to watch and hang out, was in Woodland Hills?
It was in Westlake Village, yeah. So
I think I've done that show.
I don't think we were able to get you on it. I think I think you were out of town one of the dates we put you on it for. But
I did some sort of bar, maybe James's show.
It was James. I remember we used to do it was like the second story one.
This one was not in the second story. It was like you walk in, it was like a brewery.
Oh, okay.
And it's in the corner of the room, kind of.
Oh, that was a different venue. Yeah, me and James had 2 different shows.
Oh, okay.
I know when you were talking about, but
yeah, it was awesome. And I remember being like, I had to go last. I was like, oh, this is going to be a nightmare. And I even watched some of the other comics and was going, oh, this is going to be a night. And then I got up there and it was so fun. Everyone was so great.
Yeah, we've had such mixed shows at our place. It's like when we moved it to twice a month, it became a little rough. But when we had it once a month, I mean, it was like standing room only.
Nice.
Like it was crazy. You would go in there and like I treated it like a workout room because everybody who came had seen me so much that I was like, I'm gonna bomb, but that's why I brought all my super talented friends. So I'm like, I'm gonna do the icebreaker, I'm gonna shit the bed a little bit, then we're gonna bring this whole cast in. So
well, I just talking about that makes me so excited for comedy to come back the way it used to be.
And you know what? I'm very optimistic too. I feel like I relate to you in that sense. I try and stay positive, and I think that not only comedy will come back stronger, but I think there will be such a desire for people to be back in the clubs, have that human interaction again. That I think everybody who is on tour, who was on tour, I think people are going to benefit. I think especially people who didn't necessarily used to support live events, I think a lot more people will now.
Everybody's over being an introvert. Like they're like, we did it. We've got too much home time.
Yeah. And I mean, I feel like I'm in that class that you are, you know, where it's like we've had a little bit of an easier time in quarantine, you know. It's like I had somebody put it into perspective for me. Another sober buddy of mine, he's like, "Man, I was put away for 14 months." He's like, "This shit's amazing.
Yeah.
I can go outside and run." He's
Yeah.
like, "Hell, I had a Coke on the beach last week." He's like, "I did not have that when I was in jail," you know.
I went down to a beach, and they were actually not letting people on the actual beach itself, but there was like a little berm of grass, and I got to go Mexican food, and they gave me White Claws, and I was just drinking White Claws and eating Mexican on the grass, just going, "This is all right."
Did you have Bubs with you?
Yeah, my dog is just chilling. It was so great.
Sounds like a dream quarantine.
It's been pretty great. I acclimated quickly. I was like, I can't do this, and then now I'm like enjoying it.
Yeah. Oh man, well this has been so much fun.
Yeah, dude, excited. Give me a text anytime if you want to throw the ball around or reminisce about comedy days.
Dude, I would love that.
All right.
Love that so much. Well, thanks again, and I will see you next time.
All right, brother. Talk to you soon.
All right, later.
How about that? Told you Sam's a good man. I know you guys would love him. Go ahead and give him a follow at Sam Goldstein on all the socials. He's a great guy. He's a fun guy. He's a nice guy. I hope you enjoyed listening to him. Next week we will look at the progress of my face scab. Hopefully there'll be some sort of vaccine or some sort of thing that can kill this sucker. I love all you guys. I'm thinking about all you guys. Give us a share or a like on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. And yeah, I love you guys. We'll see you next week. No matter what, I'm bringing you content. I promise. No matter what, it's coming your way. Love you guys.
Friendship